Honestly, this is really difficult to watch. Early in the morning, a powerful earthquake struck off the coast of the Philippines, and within seconds, entire communities were thrown into chaos. What stood out to me was how quickly the situation got worse. This earthquake was absolutely devastating. It struck at 7:37 in the morning and measured a powerful 7.8 magnitude. According to seismologists, the quake originated offshore near Sarangani province at a depth of around 33 kilometers beneath the Caliba Sea. What makes this even more concerning is that experts later linked it to thrust faulting along a north-south fault system near the Cotabato Trench, which is considered one of the most seismically active underwater structures in the Philippines. In other words, this wasn't some random event. It happened in an area already known for producing major earthquakes. As the energy traveled through the seafloor and into southern Mindanao, the damage started becoming clear. In the first few hours after the earthquake, officials reported 15 deaths. But as rescue crews reached more communities and hospitals continued treating victims, that number kept rising. By the end of the day, at least 32 people had been confirmed dead. More than 200 people were injured, with many of those injuries reported in General Santos City, where several building collapses took place. Officials also confirmed that at least 12 people were still missing, although emergency coordinators warned that the true number could be higher, especially in remote areas that had not yet been fully assessed. Thousands of people were forced from their homes. Many ended up in evacuation centers set up by the Department of Social Welfare and Development, while authorities worked to determine which areas were safe. And the damage wasn't limited to just one location. 4 major administrative regions reported significant destruction, including regions 9, 11, and 12, along with the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Roads, bridges, and public infrastructure all suffered damage. Some of the most dramatic scenes came from General Santos City. A building that housed both a Jollibee restaurant and a Love radio studio collapsed completely, leaving debris scattered across a nearby intersection. A separate donation center was also destroyed. Meanwhile, a high school in the municipality of Masim suffered structural damage, and conditions at St. Elizabeth Hospital became so serious that patients had to be evacuated outside and treated in temporary open-air facilities. As if the main earthquake wasn't enough, the aftershocks just kept coming. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology recorded more than 138 aftershocks within hours of the initial quake. Some were relatively small, but others were powerful enough to create even more fear among residents. The strongest aftershock measured 6.5 and occurred roughly 2 hours after the main earthquake. Imagine finally stepping outside thinking the worst is over, only for the ground to start shaking all over again. Engineers quickly warned residents not to re-enter buildings that showed visible cracks or signs of damage. Structures weakened by the main earthquake were now at risk of collapsing during the aftershock sequence. At the same time, another threat was unfolding along the coast. Tsunami waves reaching as high as 1.4 meters were recorded in several locations, including Sarangani, Sultan Kudarat, Davao Oriental, Zamboanga City, and Surigao del Sur. Because of that threat, the Coast Guard suspended operations for fishing boats, passenger vessels, and commercial watercraft throughout the affected areas. In one coastal village in Zamboanga del Sur, homes built on stilts were damaged by the incoming surge. Thankfully, after several tense hours, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center announced that the immediate tsunami threat had largely passed around 5 hours after the earthquake. But the concern wasn't limited to the Philippines. Tsunami alerts stretched across a huge portion of the Pacific region. Indonesia issued warnings for parts of the Maluku Islands, Sulawesi, and Borneo. Japan monitored incoming waves along its southern coastline. Taiwan, Palau, Papua New Guinea, and Malaysia were also included in the broader warning zone. Smaller tsunami waves were eventually recorded in parts of southern Japan and Indonesia, showing just how far the energy from this earthquake had traveled. As the crisis unfolded, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. cancelled classes nationwide and ordered disaster response agencies to mobilize immediately. He also publicly reassured residents that the national government would continue supporting affected communities in Mindanao. Meanwhile, lawmakers called for an all-hands response. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian urged agencies to speed up search and rescue operations, inspect damaged buildings, and begin providing psychological and financial assistance to displaced families. Other senators raised concerns about whether provincial hospitals would be able to handle the growing number of casualties. Additional support soon began arriving from other regions. The Cebu Provincial Board approved 10 million pesos in emergency aid specifically for General Santos City, one of the areas hit hardest by the disaster. Local governments in Sarangani, Masim, Alabel, Malungon, and nearby municipalities suspended classes and government operations while inspections were carried out. Cagayan de Oro also ordered structural checks on public buildings before reopening them. Even General Santos International Airport remained closed as officials conducted runway and terminal safety inspections. Honestly, when you look at everything that happened, the earthquake, the aftershocks, the tsunami warnings, the collapsed buildings, and the thousands of displaced families, it becomes clear that this wasn't just a single disaster. It was a chain of emergencies unfolding one after another within a matter of hours.